Millionaire invites black Maid's son to play chess as a joke. SHE didn't know he was a child genius. The Whitmore mansion glittered like a misplaced diamond under the California moon. Inside, crystal chandeliers dripped light onto polished marble floors, reflecting the expensive gowns and tailored suits of the guests. State Senator Holloway laughed loudly near a towering ice sculpture. Minister Davies sipped champagne, discussing policy with the head of a powerful tech firm. This wasn't just a party. It was a gathering of the country's most influential people, hosted by Isabella and Kingsley Whitmore, whose wealth was as deep as their sense of entitlement. Moving silently among the glitter, like a shadow against the brightness, was Victoria. Her dark hands expertly cleared discarded flutes and wiped invisible smudges from priceless surfaces. Tonight was different. She brought her 16-year-old son, Jordan. With school out and bills piling up, the extra hands were needed, and Jordan, ever responsible, had agreed to help his mother. Jordan stood near the grand fireplace, his gaze fixed not on the famous faces, but on the magnificent chessboard displayed on a side table. The pieces were heavy, hand-carved ebony and ivory. His fingers twitched slightly at his sides, tracing invisible moves in the air. He loved this game with a quiet, burning intensity. Isabella Whitmore, resplendent in emerald silk, noticed the young man's absorption. A cruel idea sparked in her sharp eyes. Here was a chance to amuse her jaded guests, to reinforce the comfortable hierarchy of her world. She lifted her champagne flute and tapped it sharply with a silver spoon. The crystal ting cut through the chatter, drawing every eye. "Everyone," Isabella called, her voice smooth as silk but edged with something colder. "Why don't we liven things up with a little demonstration?" She gestured languidly towards Jordan. "This young man here, Victoria's boy, seems quite taken with my chess set. Fascinating, isn't it? Such a serious pursuit." A titter rippled through the crowd. "So," Isabella continued, a predatory smile forming, "why doesn't he show us how chess is played in well, let's just say in his world? A little exhibition? For our entertainment." Victoria froze, a heavy silver tray trembling in her hands. She knew that tone, that look. She'd seen Isabella use it countless times, on caterers, junior staff, anyone she deemed beneath her. This wasn't an invitation. It was a trap, a public humiliation dressed up as generosity. Panic flared, then was instantly doused by a fierce, protective pride. Isabella, the reigning queen of the Oak Ridge Country Club chess circle, radiating smug confidence, had no idea what she'd just unleashed. Because Victoria knew her son, Jordan wasn't just good. He was a quiet storm on a chessboard. "Hey everyone, before this gets really good, remember you're part of the Black Nation family. We share stories that uplift and surprise. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a moment like what happens next." A concerned voice broke the tense silence. "Really, Isabella?" It was Davy Morrison, the state's head of security and a longtime friend. "Playing against the kid? Isn't that a bit much?" He shifted uncomfortably, sensing the ugliness beneath the surface. Isabella waved a dismissive hand, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "Nonsense, Davy. I'm simply offering him a unique opportunity. A chance to prove," her eyes swept over Jordan with thinly veiled contempt, "that he might be worth something more than fetching glasses." The crowd murmured, a mix of awkward pity and morbid curiosity. Victoria met her son's eyes across the room. She gave him the smallest nod, a silent message passing between them. "It's okay. Show them." Isabella commanded imperiously, "Come along, boy. Victoria, you can stop hovering. Watch how a true player conducts themselves." Victoria moved to the edge of the gathering circle, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips, unseen by the wealthy patrons. Jordan approached the chess table. He moved with a stillness that seemed out of place amidst the opulent chaos. He didn't fidget, didn't look intimidated. He simply looked at the board, his expression unreadable. As he carefully lifted the heavy pieces, arranging them with practiced ease, Victoria's mind drifted back. After Marcus died, chess became Jordan's anchor. He devoured books from the school library, skipped lunch periods to play online matches, spent entire summers hunched over boards, replaying famous games, inventing his own complex strategies. He saw patterns others missed, calculated moves 10 steps ahead like breathing. He was president of his school's small chess club, undefeated in every inter-school tournament. And for the past 2 years, while Victoria cleaned the Whitmore mansion, she'd observed Isabella's games. Her predictable openings, her reliance on aggressive but ultimately shallow tactics, her fatal weakness in the mid-game. Victoria wasn't a master, but living with Marcus and Jordan, she knew enough to spot the cracks in Isabella's polished facade. Get ready, because what happens on this chessboard is something you will never expect. Stick with us, Black Nation. The exhibition began. Isabella, radiating condescension, reached out. "White," she declared, plucking the ivory king with a flourish. A family tradition, really, couldn't possibly play with the black pieces. The unspoken disdain for the very color hung heavy in the air. Several guests exchanged uncomfortable glances. Jordan simply nodded, his face calm. He settled into the chair opposite her, folding his hands in his lap, waiting. Isabella made the first move, c4. The English opening. A confident, aggressive start favored by players who like to control the center quickly. A murmur went through the knowledgeable guests. Senator Holloway leaned towards Minister Davies. "The English? She's not pulling any punches, is she? Poor kid won't last 5 minutes." Camelia Rossi, another state senator known to dabble in chess, recognized it too. "That's her tournament opener. She's aiming for a quick rout." Pity warred with fascination on her face. But Jordan knew it. He'd seen Isabella use it countless times from the doorway, while his mother polished nearby furniture. He didn't hesitate. His hand, callous from helping his mom with heavy cleaning supplies, moved a black pawn. 1e6. The French defense. A seemingly quiet response, preparing to challenge the center later. Simple. Solid. Unimpressive to the untrained eye. Isabella chuckled, a light, tinkling sound devoid of real humor. "Well, that's one way to start, I suppose." She made her next move, advancing another pawn, building pressure. Jordan responded calmly. 2d5, directly challenging White's central pawn. The game began to unfold. Isabella played swiftly, confidently, her moves reflecting her usual pattern. Aggressive pawn pushes, developing her knights and bishop for a quick assault on Jordan's kingside. She chatted breezily with guests between moves, treating the game like a mildly amusing distraction. Jordan, however, played with a quiet, deep focus. His moves weren't flashy. He developed his pieces steadily, seemingly reacting, sometimes even retreating slightly under Isabella's perceived pressure. To the casual observer, he looked like he was barely holding on, playing defensively just to survive. Victoria, watching her son's eyes, sharp, calculating, seeing far beyond the next move, felt a swell of pride. He was setting a trap, patiently weaving a web Isabella was blindly walking into. This is the moment, Black Nation. Don't look away. Subscribe now because the twist coming is pure fire. Isabella captured one of Jordan's pawns that seemed poorly defended. "There we go, dear," she said patronizingly. "You have to offer a little more resistance to make it interesting, you know?" She placed the captured black pawn beside the board with a dismissive flick. Jordan didn't react to the loss. He simply looked at the board, then made his move. 6. BB4+. A check. A minor inconvenience, Isabella thought. She blocked it easily with a pawn, her smile widening. See? Basic defense. But that poorly defended pawn? Jordan had allowed her take it. It was the bait. That pawn's sacrifice opened a diagonal, weakened her pawn structure in a way she hadn't noticed in her eagerness to attack. Jordan's next few moves were like the gentle closing of a fist. He developed his queen quietly. He positioned a rook on a half-open file. He maneuvered his knight to a seemingly innocuous square. Suddenly, the mood shifted. Isabella's next move wasn't met with her usual confident flourish. She paused, her hand hovering over her queen. The easy chatter around the board died down. Senator Rossi leaned forward, frowning. Davy Morrison's eyes narrowed as he studied the position. The seemingly random retreats and quiet placements by Jordan were snapping together into a terrifying picture. His pieces weren't scattered. They were coordinated, pointing like silent arrows towards Isabella's king, which was looking surprisingly exposed in the center. Isabella's smile had vanished. A slight flush crept up her neck. She moved her king one square to the left, KF1, trying to find safety behind a wall of pawns. It was the only logical escape route she saw. A ghost of a smile touched Jordan's lips. It was the same fleeting expression Victoria had seen when he'd cornered the reigning high school champion in the final minutes of the regional tournament. He saw the path. He predicted this exact move. He picked up his queen. The heavy black piece seemed to gleam under the chandeliers. He placed it decisively on H5. Silence. Absolute, crushing silence descended on the glittering room. Isabella stared. Her eyes darted over the board, her fingers trembling slightly as she traced possible moves. Her queen was pinned. Her knights were out of position. Her bishops couldn't intercept. Every escape square for her king was covered. By Jordan's bishop, by his rook, by the newly menacing black queen on H5. There was no block, no capture. The path was clear. Jordan's voice, quiet but clear as a bell, cut through the stillness. Checkmate. A collective gasp sucked the air from the room. Eyes widened. Jaws dropped. Camelia Rossi clapped a hand over her mouth. Davy Morrison let out a low whistle of disbelief. Someone near the back fumbled for their phone. The camera flash momentarily blinding. The impossible had happened. The maid's son, invited as the butt of a joke, had dismantled the Oak Ridge Club champion in under 20 moves with brutal, elegant precision. Isabella Whitmore sat frozen. The color drained from her face, leaving her expertly applied makeup stark and garish. Her carefully constructed world of superiority seemed to crack and crumble around her. She stared at the board, at the Black Queen delivering the fatal blow, then up at Jordan's calm, composed face. Humiliation, hot and corrosive, washed over her. "Lucky," she stammered, her voice hoarse, shattering the silence. That was a fluke, a cheap trick." She shoved her chair back, the legs scraping harshly against the marble. What kind of nonsense move was that? But her protests sounded weak, desperate, swallowed by the stunned atmosphere. The crowd wasn't buying it. The evidence was right there on the board, a masterpiece of strategy, a checkmate born of deep understanding, not luck. Kingsley Whitmore looked mortified, stepping forward to place a placating hand on his wife's arm, which she violently shook off. Victoria stood tall, her shoulders back, the small smile now a beacon of quiet vindication. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. This is Black Nation, witnessing excellence, sharing triumph. Subscribe for more stories that celebrate our brilliance. Before the awkward silence could deepen further, a figure stepped forward. It was Arthur Finch, a renowned tech billionaire known for his sharp mind and philanthropic investments in education. He ignored the fuming Isabella completely, his eyes fixed on Jordan with intense interest. "Young man," Finch said, his voice cutting through the tension. "That wasn't luck. That was genius. Cold, calculated, brilliant genius. That final sequence, sacrificing the pawn to open the diagonal, lulling her into a false sense of security, then the queen maneuvers, devastating." He extended a hand. "Arthur Finch. What's your name?" "Jordan, sir," Jordan replied, shaking the offered hand firmly, though a flicker of surprise crossed his face. "Jordan," Finch repeated. "Do you have plans for college? Any serious chess coaching?" He glanced meaningfully at Victoria. Talent like that shouldn't be mopping floors. It should be competing on the world stage. Victoria's heart leaped. Finch was known for his scholarship programs for gifted, underprivileged youth. 5 years later, the scene was vastly different. Instead of a gilded mansion, Jordan stood under the bright lights of a packed international arena in Reykjavik, Iceland. The air hummed with tension and the clicks of hundreds of cameras. He was no longer a boy in worn clothes, but a young man radiating focused intensity, dressed in a simple, dark suit. Across the ornate chessboard sat the reigning world champion, Ivan Volkov, a mountain of a man known for his aggressive, intimidating style. The position was complex, locked in a tense middle game battle. Volkov, playing white, had thrown everything at Jordan: sharp attacks, complex sacrifices, psychological pressure. Jordan had weathered the storm, his defense as solid as granite, his counterplay precise. The commentators buzzed with speculation. The score was tied. This game could decide the championship. Volkov leaned forward, his brow furrowed, contemplating his next move. The crowd held its breath. Jordan's eyes scanned the board, not seeing the pieces, but seeing the invisible lines of force, the potential futures branching out. He saw a pattern emerging, a familiar vulnerability in Volkov's king position, reminiscent of a long-ago game played for cruel amusement. It was time. Volkov made his move, a bold knight's sacrifice aiming to blast open Jordan's defenses. A ripple of excitement went through the audience. Volkov leaned back, a confident gleam in his eye. This was his signature knockout blow. Jordan didn't flinch. He saw the trap, and beyond it, the path Volkov couldn't see. He picked up his queen. The move wasn't flashy, but it was lethal in its simplicity. He placed the queen decisively on h5. A collective gasp, louder this time, echoed through the arena. Commentators stuttered, analyzing frantically. Volkov's confident expression froze, then shattered into disbelief. He stared, his face paling. He saw the same inescapable net Jordan had woven years ago. His king trapped, his pieces powerless, the Black Queen delivering an unstoppable threat. It was a mirror image, perfected against the world's best. "Checkmate," Jordan stated, his voice calm but carrying through the sudden silence, just as it had in the Whitmore mansion. The arena erupted. Flashbulbs exploded like a constellation. Volkov slowly bowed his head, a gesture of respect to the new champion. Jordan stood up, not with wild celebration, but with the quiet dignity that had always defined him. He looked towards the front row. There sat Victoria, tears streaming down her proud face, clapping harder than anyone. Arthur Finch sat beside her, beaming. The chess world buzzed. Commentators replayed the final move endlessly. "The Jordan sacrifice," one declared. "The coverall checkmate," another dubbed it. The move, sacrificing a pawn to create a fatal weakness, then exploiting it with a devastating queen maneuver, was dissected, studied, and ultimately entered chess theory books. It was officially named the Jordan Maneuver, a testament to the genius that had risen from the most unexpected place. In this family is the power of relentless practice. It's the fire that burns quietly within. It's the legacy passed down from a father who saw the world in 64 squares. But most importantly, it's a lesson etched in ivory and ebony. Never underestimate a young black boy, because behind the quiet eyes and humble circumstances, there might just be a champion waiting for his moment to say checkmate. Remember that. Hold on to that truth. This is Black Nation. We are more than a channel. We are a community, a movement, a family celebrating our stories, our strength, and our undeniable brilliance. If you believe in lifting each other up, if you believe in the power of stories like Jordan's, hit that subscribe button. Share this story. Join the nation, because together we are unstoppable.